Welcome back to my Soundtrap tutorials on recreating the song Three Little Birds. In episode 1, we programmed a basic drum groove that included a reggae swing, so if you haven't seen that, you can go back and look there. Today we're going to talk about the form, at least at the beginning of the song. Try and keep this to a short form video here, but we're going to talk about the form of the beginning of the song, and one of the things that makes Three Little Birds unusual, and then I'm going to show you how to lay it out with the organ. So in a more sophisticated DAW, or digital audio workstation, and I'm thinking of, in particular, Logic, which is the one that I use for my own professional work, there would be on the top left-hand side the option to include an arrangement track. And what that would look like is it's sort of another layer of the ruler. It's very thin, about the size of this looping, this purple region here that's easy to visualize, and that would just tell you where in the song you are. There's a lot of reasons for organizing like that, so and that will be more apparent as we move through this project, but let's start to organize in that way. The only way to do this in Soundtrap, or at least the only way that I found that's efficient, is to add a new track here. I'm just going to arbitrarily choose the piano because of the way it's treated here. And it does create the instrument. Actually, I don't need the instrument to do what I'm about to do, so I'm going to hide that. And instead, I'm going to hover my mouse over the piano track here, okay? And if I click on this, it's going to create a blank MIDI region. And in fact, the introduction to this song is 4 measures long, and I want this segment here, this MIDI element, to represent that intro. It goes from the beginning of measure 1 to the end of measure 4. And I'm going to make that 4 bars long. And by the way, I meant to do this earlier. I'm going to change the name of this track from piano to form. And now what I'm going to do is every time I add one of these MIDI elements, I'm going to name that particular region a name like intro, and I like to label, this is my personal form. Whoop, that's not a 4. The money bars. Intro is going to be 4 bars here, okay? Now, unfortunately, that doesn't remain visible the entire time, but if I'm curious about where I am, I can always hover my mouse. So the next thing I need to do here is create another region, and I'm going to create a region, and this one is going to be for, and this is actually kind of a funny thing about this song. This song is unusual because it has this 4-bar introduction, but rather than go right into a verse, it goes into the chorus. And the chorus of this song is 8 measures long. So you can see that I already have my drum groove pulled out to track, or bar 9. I'm going to pull this 4 more bars to the end of measure 12. While I'm at it, I may as well just move my drum groove. And I'm going to label this the chorus. So that's going to go under edit name, and I'm just going to call this chorus 8 bars. Okay, so I've got that laid out, and personally I like to have that form at the top. It's easy for me to see where everything belongs. And of course, as always, I'm going to save my work pretty frequently here. So now let's talk about this organ bubble. The organ bubble is the upbeat feeling that the organ plays in one of these reggae songs. And so we're going to add a new track, and we're going to choose piano and keyboards, but the goal here is to change our sound, and I'm going to do that by choosing organs. There's actually several organs here that would sound great on this track. The one that I personally like, if you'd like to match me, is, let's see, it's the mellow organ slow. It's the one that I liked for this particular bubble. And we're gonna sequence the first 4 measures here. Now we could play this in on a keyboard. Now, I have in front of me here, I have my little MIDI plug-in keyboard. I know some people have this at home. And so let me just move this into a more visible place. So our first chord is going to be a C major chord, which normally would be spelled C, E, and G. I'm going to spell this chord in an inversion. That means using the same letters in the chord, but instead of going C, E, and G, I'm going to spell it E, G, C. It's the same chord. This is called the first inversion. E, G, and C. My music theory kids will recognize this as since we're going to be in C major here, it's a 1-1-6 chord. So we're going to use those 3 notes. Now, if I wanted to play this in, I would play it on the upbeat. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Most of you don't have that option right now. So we can program this in by writing in. Okay, now if you click into the piano roll here, there are some selections over on the right hand side. What we want is the pencil tool. And you can see all of the piano keys that we were using earlier. This is the one for E3, and we want this to be on the and. And so if you are curious about where that is, I've just moved my cursor here. Can make this even easier to see. And I want that first note to be E. I actually am happy with that being an 8th note. It's a short length. I'm going to also write in a G, and you can see, by the way, I'll slow this down here for a second. That's E3, and this is G3. Now, if you were to accidentally write this in on the wrong pitch, like A3, first of all, is not the right one, you can use your arrow tool here and drag this all over anywhere it needs to be. So we should have E3, G3, and C4. Okay? Now, it would be annoying to have to do this for the entire song. And you can, if that's the way you like to work, but another way to do this would be you can actually, with your mouse or your trackpad, create a box, like literally click anywhere and drag over those notes, and you can see all of them highlight. I'm on my laptop. Well, it's a MacBook, so I'm using Command-C, but you can use, I think it's Control-C if you're on a Chromebook. And if you just position your cursor on the and of the beat, it will allow you, that's actually on the but you can paste those notes where they belong, and that will make your life easier and your work much faster. So we needed to have that be E3, G3, and C4 on the and of each of these beats in one measure. And again, I'm going to save my work here. I'm always saving my work just to make sure it doesn't disappear on me. And the intro of this song is built on one chord. So the easy thing for us to do here is after we build that on the and of each beat, we're going to drag this out for 4 measures. And it's easy to see where the intro ends because we built our form. Okay, isn't that nice? All right, so I've got another great idea for you here to make your life faster and easier. The chorus of this song, which is 8 measures, is a very, very simple form, and it's mostly made up of C major chords. So we can copy this entire section here. You can see I've highlighted it. I'm going to use Command-C, position my mouse at measure 5 here, and I'm going to paste that in. So what we've got is a section that later on will be easy to copy and move if we want it. But it's also built up in 4 measure form here. And we need it to be 8 measures, but hear me out. This part of the song should have actually 2 measures of C major, so we can leave those as is. But the 3rd measure should be an F major chord. We can actually break this measure free. I'm going to position my cursor at measure 7, and I'm going to right click. And you can see where it says split region. Now, there's some shortcuts here for my laptop. I'm going to do the same thing at the end of the measure also, split region. And I now have this independent measure here. Okay, we could delete it and resequence the notes here, but we can also just go right in here and drag things around. So what I would love for you to do is, so we're going to leave all of these C4s in place. We need C. It's a common tone of the chord we're going to use. All of these G's right here need to become an A in the next chord. And we can drag over all of them, or draw that box over all of them, and drag from G3 up 2 half steps or a whole step to A3. And this bottom pitch here is E3. we're going to do not a very huge amount of motion here. We're going to move from E3 to F3. And if we play this, see if we can hear it. Great. So those are all the correct pitches. Again, continue to save your work. And the other thing that we would like to do here is to merge these 4 regions here. And so I've highlighted all of them. I clicked on one, and then I'm holding my Shift key down, and I'm clicking on the others, very similar to a word processor. And then not clicking on the edit bubble, but right-clicking anywhere else will allow me to select Merge Regions. And I now have a chorus region here of 4 measures where it goes C major, C major, F major, C major. And we need that to be 8 measures long, so I'm going to loop that, because the form of that is CCFC, CCFC in the chord progression. All right, one last thing here, and that is that this is reggae, of course, and there's a little bit of swing here. So let's use some 8th note swing here, and we're just going to add a little tiny little bit of swing and listen to what this sounds like. Sounds great, okay? I actually just remembered that I never added the 8th note swing to the beginning here, so I'm going to quantize that beginning one also, a little 8th note swing. It's actually automatically set up to be in the same spot, and that should match. And then please, 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 please save your work. All right, so that is the first 12 measures of the organ bubble, and this is a very, very basic organ bubble. We'll talk about some ways to vary this another time, but I hope this was fast and easy for you with that copy and paste function. Good luck.